UNLV Microcertificate Economics. I want to talk about something called perfect competition now. We mentioned this before. We want to look at things not from their legal perspective, but by economic groupings. And we call those either market structures or industry structures. And the first one of these that we look at is called perfect competition. Not because it's perfect and not because there's a particular amount of competition, but that's just what we call it. And the reason Mr. Cow is here is that maybe this applies to farming and not much else. Maybe. So there's a reason, again, it probably doesn't even apply to farming, but we'll get back to that. There are 4 assumptions to perfect competition. The first one is that you have many small buyers and sellers, so small that nobody can influence the market. None of the sellers can influence the market by themselves, and none of the buyers can influence the market by themselves. That means that the ideas of supply and demand hold, that the market is going to resolve to a price, and everybody's basically going to sell the same thing at the same price. There's no restrictions on entry and exit of firms. If you want to shut down your farm, you get in your pickup truck and you drive to town, and you're no longer a farmer. If you want to start a farm, you go out and start a farm. Okay, it's not that difficult a business to get into or out of. You might not actually want to be in it, but beside the point. In perfect competition, the firms produce identical or what we call homogeneous products. So wheat's wheat, right? And a heifer's a heifer, and a soybean's a soybean for the most part. People may tell you that, Colorado wheat's better than Nebraska, but yeah. And the buyers and sellers have near-perfect information. I used to be a newspaper reporter for the Greeley, Colorado Daily Tribune. And every day we publish the price of wheat and pigs and cows, and right, everybody knows. All right, no problems there. If, however, we say perfect competition only applies to these farms, and it probably doesn't actually apply to them because you have to plant in the spring and you harvest in the fall, which means you don't actually know what the right price is or whether you're producing the right thing or how the weather's going to be. Yeah. But we need a baseline. We need something to compare the other industry structures to. So we want to say that monopoly is bad. Well, bad compared to what? And the answer is compared to what would happen if we had perfect competition. So this perfect competition is going to provide optimal outcomes, the best possible outcomes. And then we compare it to the outcomes we get from other kinds of businesses to see where there are distortions. Now, do we have control over price? We already just talked about this. If we're in a perfectly competitive firm, we're producing identical product, and there's lots of other people, we're not going to have any control over anything. So we call the businesses in perfect competition price takers. There are businesses out there, and we're going to talk about them, that are price makers, that control their price. We also call them price searchers or price seekers. But in perfect competition, we are price takers. These are businesses that are unable to affect the price on their own. They take the price as a given. Okay, their price is given to them. And again, it's because there are so many of them and they're selling identical things that you have, as a customer, you have no reason to buy one person's wheat over another person's wheat. And so you're going to take the best price, and everybody's going to end up selling at the same price. All right. Now, how are these firms going to behave? That's the question. And we're going to assume that they're trying to make as much money as they can. If you ever known any farmers, and again, I grew up in farm country, I've known lots of farmers in my life, Farming for most farmers is not really a hugely profitable business, right? So we assume that they're out there trying to make as much money as they can. And the question is, what's the signal? How do they know? What do they do? All right? Remember again that there's an assumption here that they know how to produce. So they're going to choose what? They could choose wheat. They could choose corn. They might choose cows. They might, right? I had a girlfriend whose parents were dairy farmers, and they always had their milk cows, but they'd raise a few pigs they have a few options. How much am I going to plant? If I have 100 acres, am I going to plant it all in corn or wheat? Am I going to plant some of it in soybeans? What am I going to do quantity-wise? And then what am I going to do to control my costs? Farmers all think that they know better than the other guy how to produce more wheat on an acre or more corn on an acre. Okay? If you're all producing identical products and the price is set, the thing you really control is what you're going to produce and then how much is it going to cost you to produce. And those are the things you're going to worry about. How do I figure out what to make? Well, like everything else in economics, we talk about benefits and costs. What's the benefit to a business is money coming in. The money I get from selling one more of something is called my marginal revenue. So if I sell one more bushel of wheat and I get $4 for it, that's the marginal revenue of that bushel of wheat. My cost is the money going out, and in this case, I'm interested in the marginal cost. What do I pay to produce one more? And we've talked about this before, but if you want to sound like an economist, you don't talk about your total revenue and your total cost. You always talk about your marginal revenue and your marginal cost. So let's think for a second. Marginal revenue is what's coming in. Marginal cost is what's going out from producing one more. Well, clearly there's a system here, right? If I get more for selling it than it costs me to produce, I ought to produce it, right? So let's suppose my marginal revenue from selling a bushel of wheat is $5, and my marginal cost for making one more bushel of wheat is $3. Should I make more wheat? Well, yes. Why? If I get $5 for making it and it costs me $3 to make it, I'm making $2 on that bushel of wheat. I should sure make it, all right? I need to grow that wheat because I'm going to get $2 more of profit, okay? So I'm always looking at this in terms of my profit, and I'm comparing the marginal revenue of the next bushel of wheat to the marginal cost of the next bushel of wheat. And if we think about this, when I'm not growing anything, right? And if I've got extra land, if I've got open space, I can grow more. But at some point, I'm going to fill up my land. I'm going to have, places where my tractor can't go. Things are going to get in the way, and my costs are going to start going up to expand production. So if my marginal revenue equals my margin or is greater than my marginal cost, if $5 is greater than $3, I'm not producing enough. I should try to produce more, right? If I've got 99 acres in wheat and I'm thinking about should I plant the last acre, well, again, if my marginal revenue from doing that is going to be more than my marginal cost, planting that acre makes me a profit, right? Increases my profit. If my marginal revenue and my marginal cost are the same, it doesn't matter whether I plant that acre or not. If I get $5 but I'm having to pay out $5, I might not even want to plant that acre, right? I'm not really getting anything for it, but I'm having to work in it. So I should stop. I shouldn't plant that last acre because the cost of planting that acre is equal to the revenue I get from that acre. There's no gain for me. Maybe I would do it, though, because we'll talk about something here in a second. If my marginal revenue is less than my marginal cost, in other words, it costs me $5 to grow that wheat, but I only get $3 when I sell it, I need to produce less. I need to not produce that wheat. By cutting back, I'll actually increase my profit. I'm losing $2 on every bushel of wheat that I grow, or the last bushel of wheat that I'm growing, I need to produce less. Okay? And you just have to think this thing through, right? Think of examples and think this thing through. What does it mean if a business is breaking even in this world? Well, it's the cost of my labor plus the cost of my capital plus the cost of my land, but it's also normal profit. Remember that to an economist, cost is opportunity cost. If I own the farm and I'm out there working every day, it costs me. I have a cost of working. Okay? I need to get paid. A business person needs to think of themselves as if they're the manager of the company and they should get paid. Okay? If we're figuring out how much a business is worth, we figure that out, including basically the idea that you need to get paid for your work. All right? The farmer still needs to get paid for their work. And they really don't earn a profit until they're making more money than they would make if they just got paid to do that job. So we call that, again, normal profit. We've talked about this before, right? If I could hire someone to manage my farm for $50,000 a year, I'm not making money until I'm making more than $50,000 a year. That $50,000 a year is basically normal profit. If I'm managing my farm and I could go manage somebody else's farm for $50,000, right? Essentially, I'm giving up $50,000 to manage my own farm. I should be paying myself that $50,000. Okay? So whenever an economist says break even, that means you're earning enough money to stay in business. That means you're earning what we call a normal profit. Okay? An accountant, they don't include profit, any amount of profit, in their calculation. So if you spent $1 million to run your farm and your revenue was $1,001, your accountant will go, hey, you earned a profit, here's your dollar. An economist would go, oh, you lost $49,999 this year because you could have gone manage that other farm for $50,000 and instead you only made $1. You lost. You're a loser. Okay? So economists and accountants look at the world differently. Economists look at it better, of course. This idea of opportunity cost is so important. Okay? If I'm earning an economic profit, what will happen? Let's say I'm earning hundreds of thousands of dollars. I have a great year and I make $200,000, $300,000. I'm earning a ton of money. I grew wheat and I just earned a ton of money. And my neighbor next door grew corn and barely scraped by. What's my neighbor going to do next year? Yeah, probably grow wheat. That my neighbor probably looked at me and went, hey, wheat. So new firms are going to enter the wheat business because us wheat farmers made so much money. That means there's going to be more supply. All that supply is going to make the price of wheat fall until we get back to earning a normal profit. So in the short run, I might earn an economic profit. I might earn a big profit. But in the long run, I'm going to earn normal profit, enough money so that I'll stay in business. Right? So that, again, if I'm a corn farmer and us corn farmers was losing money, well, some of them corn farmers are switching over, right, to grow wheat. So now there's fewer and fewer corn farmers. These existing farms exited, and I kept growing corn. The supply of corn will decrease. The price of corn will rise, and instead of losing money, now I'm going to make a normal profit. So if I can hang on over a long period of time growing wheat or corn or whatever, I should be able to stay in business and earn a normal profit. But sometimes I'm going to earn an economic profit, and sometimes I'm going to lose. Okay? Everybody with me on this? Now, we have some terminology we need to understand here because we're going to apply this frequently now. Productive efficiency. Productive efficiency means the firm is producing at the lowest possible cost per unit. Perfect competition, we're going to have productive efficiency. Why? Because the only thing they can control is their own costs. So I'm going to do everything I can to produce my wheat or my corn at the lowest possible cost. So we get productive efficiency in perfect competition. They're producing at the lowest possible cost because they have to try to make profits. Okay? We also, in perfect competition, get something called resource allocative efficiency. And what that means is that everybody gets paid what they're worth. You pay what you put in. The more you put in, the more you get out. The farmer that works harder makes more money than the farmer who doesn't. Okay? Again, why? Because we have this huge amount of competition. We have so many buyers and so many sellers. If you have a great worker who's working on your farm and you're not paying them, the neighbor offers them more money, they're going to go. Okay? Everybody's going to get paid what they're worth. There are so many businesses and so many workers and okay? Everybody's going to get paid what they're worth, and we call that resource allocative efficiency. So again, why do we like perfect competition? Normal profit is normal. In the long run, firms in perfect competition are going to earn normal profits. We have productive efficiency. We're going to produce at low costs. And we have resource allocative efficiency. People are getting paid and businesses are getting paid what they are worth. Okay? Now, do these assumptions really hold in the real world? No. Now we're going to look at various ways that those assumptions are broken and then how that takes us away from the assumptions of perfect competition and the outcomes of perfect competition, right? The outcome of perfect competition versus the outcome of a monopoly.